So I think everyone's heard the elephant in the room by now. Elephant, or should I say monkey. Yeah, so if you somehow missed the Switch 2 trailer, they showed some new Mario Kart in there, and everything was fine and dandy until someone took a good look at what was in the background and they saw this abomination. I kid, I joke, it's not that bad. I don't really like it. I think old Donkey Kong's design is kind of peak. I think most would agree with me on that the old design is perfectly fine, and it was kind of weird that they changed it. Now, I've heard some discussion online that is saying that it's not based off the movie, it's based off of the old design. I just want to show you something here based on that assumption. So I think it's definitely aiming more for that movie look, and I think it's very hard to deny that. People will point to like the old sketches and somehow think it kind of looks the same, which I'm going to show you what those old sketches look like in 3D. There you go. So, but yeah, I don't want to stay on this topic because it's being discussed to death, and everyone, I think, is essentially on the same page. It looks crazy. But it does lead me to the topic here that I want to cover, and that is this idea of lame redesigns. So I think there are some usual suspects that everyone always covers. I don't want to cover these. I think you can hear enough of that at every other video with this topic. I want to kind of address some ones that I find a little bit more interesting. And I want to emphasize the word lame, where I don't think these are bad. I don't think the new DK design is bad. I just think it's kind of lame. I think it's a downgrade, but perfectly fine. So, I mean, I don't find the DK that bad, but I think some people really just want to beat the crap out of this design. You know who's beaten the crap out of Donkey Kong before? Little Mac. Before his new iteration on the Wii, he had kind of been on hiatus for a while. And if we look at sort of his design history, it's kind of strange and all over the place. But if we just stay on the Wii version for now, it's made by an American studio, so it's more Americanized, and actually kind of fits the Italian. Is he Italian or is he? I can't remember. But the Smash version of it kind of took this design and brought it like a step further. And it looks sick. Like he's got these huge arms. It's clean as hell. It has kind of that like Zelda-ish aesthetic. Side note, I've recently discovered that that's kind of the art style of Smash Bros. You know, it's kind of Zelda-y. Everything's kind of Zelda-y. They literally, when making the Pit redesign, they said, how would we do with Pit what we did with Link? So everything kind of fits that mold. Sorry, tangent there, but I just find it interesting because, yeah, I think it fits. One thing I would say about the Smash design, though, that is weird, is Mac, I believe, is supposed to be like 17, 18, something like that. Wow, that's a 17-year-old. Now, you could say lore-wise this is far in the future, but, you know. Now, these are good designs. If we go back to the one before this, we get... Huh. Did he look like that? Is he supposed to be... I guess he kind of looked like that. Sort of. I got the hair, I suppose. This is a weird design, if I'm being honest. Like, it always just looks like some random dude. I don't know if they thought, like, could this be Mac in the future where he is an older boxer man? Because it does just kind of look like a, you know, like a Japanese businessman who's like best days are behind him. I mean, obviously still yoked though. He's huge, but it is kind of fascinating how much like the clothes and the body and everything did kind of remain. And now, I'm actually not sure if did Smash Bros. Brawl come out before Punch Out for the Wii, because that would be really fascinating if that was the case. Now, if we take another look back at the Super Nintendo Punch Out, we get this blonde Little Mac. Now it is Little Mac. Like, you could, I think they argue it's like a different person, but it was kind of supposed to be a reboot. This is maybe where I would say the lame redesign is and comes from. I'm just trying to think like why this was the case. I wonder if maybe the black hair, because they had this sort of see-through gameplay where you see through Little Mac to see the opponent boxer. Was it like the black was maybe too dark and was obscuring things? Is that why they went with the blonde? Like that kind of checks out to me. I don't like the squareness of his hair as well. Like, it's very strange. I've never looked into who the artist was for this, so maybe that would explain some stuff. What's interesting is you see the prototype where he does kind of is hitting more the old design stuff, where he has like the brown hair and they do like this swooping to the side thing, which is interesting. If that would have kept, then I think that would have been potentially Little Mac's design going forward, would be like the side hair. But it's a very interesting look. He's very skinny, fascinating. Now then, if we also go one step further back from the NES version, we reach the arcade version, and well, that's a look. Got the very bold green hair, I'll give you that. I did like a concept for like a punch-out beat 'em up back in the day, and my idea was to have the NES Little Mac and the Super Nintendo Little Mac kind of be co-op partners, and the first boss you fight would be this arcade Little Mac, who's like a washed-up ex-world champion boxer that like no one believes because he's like a, you know, homeless in a back alley. So that's fun. It's actually kind of neat to see all the iterations, but I find Little Mac's history goes from bad design to pretty good design to, I'd argue, lame design to lame design again to good design to great design. It's fascinating. Oh wait, what's this? They put Super Nintendo Little Mac in another game? Well, you know who else beats up monkeys? Did I say that right? Ape Escape. Spike from Ape Escape. So recently, I made a Spike Ape Escape model. So I kind of have been looking into this stuff and found it somewhat fascinating. By the way, you can get the model over on my coffee. The model's free for a week, whatever. And you can use it in anything you want. Put in anything you want. It's cool. But for this franchise, it's kind of fascinating because there's this huge chunk of it that no one really knows. And I even asked some people online about this, and like no one knew what was going on. But once I dug into it, it was extremely obvious. So Spike from Ape Escape, his basic design is this very just honestly quite simple, condensed sort of, you know, just a kid with cool spiky hair. I actually really love the simplicity. He just has like the one stripe. He's got shorts on and just brown shoes. His hair is really, you know, pretty wild, but it's spiky and it just has like the little yellow tuft up front. I think at the time, like a lot of these early kind of 2000s and the 90s looks, you might have started to move into the Yu-Gi-Oh stylings that are really crazy and wild. So this one's actually interesting enough, but fairly subdued, and I quite like that. And he's really, like I mentioned, he's condensed, and I like that in these kind of platforming characters. It's very Mario, it's very Bomberman, it's very Bubsy. Suddenly fast forward to the PS2 game, Ape Escape 2. Now, something about the franchise they didn't know was the games switch up the protagonist every game. So initially, I thought that Spike wasn't in it, but it turns out I guess you unlock him, or he's only there for a little bit. I haven't played the game yet. I'm sorry to people who have, but this design is lovely. It's just an upgrade. They gave him pants. They gave him more, like multiple stripes on his shirt. Huh, 2 stripes. In the third game, what do you get, 3 stripes on a shirt? Now, an aspect that I see with this is this weird, like, kind of, does he have a nose? Does he not have a nose? Later, spoilers, they would just remove the nose, but it's strange to me. I think it's implied that he has one because you see it in like various artworks, but you know, it can go either way. I always think he kind of should have a nose after we see kind of what he becomes, and what it becomes is this. So this was from PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, the PS3 Smash Bros. Clone, and this was Spike in it. Now, when I first saw this kid, I was like, cool, it's the Ape Escape kid, and I never quite looked into what it is and how it looks compared to the other ones. And I gotta say, this is weird. He's a worm. They made him a worm. I was curious on why does he look like this? Like, did they go out of their way to look like this? Was this their design? But then you find out that there was a sort of reboot that happened on the PS2 called Million Monkeys, where this is what he looks like. Now, I would argue he looks a lot better in this game. This game being, I think, an Earth Defense Force style game where you just do missions and battle a lot of things with a lot of different weapons and stuff. This thing is in it, so that's cool. But yeah, it's fascinating. But this really made sense. I was like, why does he look weird in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale? Why didn't they go with the classic look? It's because this was the quote-unquote most modern look. I'm assuming when they approached the studio, when they're like, we're putting Spike in, they said, use this version, because this is the modern version. That's a bummer. I think the original's like really iconic. I think this new one's weird. and they really dropped the ball on that one, in my opinion. When I was like thinking about this video, I thought that it was Spike in every game. So in the third game, I thought this was Spike, but this is not. This kid, I thought it was weird that he had blue hair. But you know, who also has blue hair. My game, Merchant 60 Goemon. I guess it could be worse. We could go back to the original. Speaking of original, you can wishlist my original game on Steam. It's called Merchant 64. It is it's going to just be a really small, simple, inexpensive game where you play as a traveling merchant going from town to town, selling, buying goods at lower prices and selling them for higher prices. It won't be too deep. It won't be too complex. It's just going to be silly. I really am making it to go through the Steam process because it's been a dream of mine, and I got to start small. So, you know, give it a wish list at least. You don't have to buy it when it comes out, but just that would be very cool. And thank you, everyone. If you got this far, tell me your lame redesigns. I mentioned those early usual suspects early on that people might voice their opinion on. Like, go ahead. I just didn't really want to talk about the usual ones, but please let me know. I really wanted to try to dig into more obscure ones, but just not a lot were coming to mind beyond kind of the ones I had here. So please really go into that more. I would love to hear weird, kind of lame, obscure redesigns, or you can defend these and let me know why I'm wrong, because that would also be really cool to hear about. So thank you, everyone, and yeah, thanks.